One of the misconceptions leaders often have is what the goal of appreciation is. And it's not just to make people feel good. It improves employee engagement, that people actually become engaged mentally and emotionally in their work. It reduces absenteeism on the job, accidents. It improves retention. It also improves customer service ratings because you're dealing with people who feel valued. And when you feel valued versus questioning it or feeling devalued, you interact with both colleagues and customers and suppliers differently.
Welcome to Leadership, the podcast where leadership meets real-world insights. In each episode, you can eavesdrop on exclusive conversations with top thought leaders, best-selling authors, and experts in leadership, communication, relationships, culture, and everything else that shapes your effectiveness in the workplace and in your personal life. Leadership is here for you. Now, here's our host, himself a seasoned coach and best-selling author, Dr. Roger Dean Duncan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Leadership. Some of you have heard me say that you can rent people's backs and hands, but you must earn their heads and hearts. That's always been true, and I believe that in today's world of work, it's more relevant than ever. My guest today is someone whose work has transformed how organizational leaders think about employee engagement, recognition, and workplace culture. Dr. Paul White is a psychologist, author, and speaker with more than 20 years of experience consulting with businesses, government agencies, schools, and nonprofits. He's best known as the co-author alongside Dr. Gary Chapman of the best-selling book, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. It's a groundbreaking guide that has reshaped how leaders and teams approach authentic appreciation. Since its release, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace has sold more than 600,000 copies and been translated into more than 24 languages, proving its relevance across industries and cultures. The book builds on the original 5 love languages concept by applying it to professional settings, offering a powerful framework for boosting morale, reducing turnover, and improving workplace relationships. What sets Dr. White apart is his ability to take psychological principles and make them practical and actionable for managers and team members alike. Dr. White's expertise has been featured in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, and Fast Company. He's worked with organizations like NASA, the U.S. Air Force, and numerous Fortune 500 companies to help them create engaging, more productive work environments. His research-based approach ensures that appreciation isn't just a feel-good gesture. It's a strategic tool for building trust and increasing employee satisfaction. Whether you're a leader looking to better support your team or a team member hoping to foster more connection at work, Dr. White offers insights that are both deeply human and highly practical. Dr. Paul White, welcome to Leadership.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you.
Well deserved. Let me ask, what inspired you and Dr. Gary Chapman to adapt the original love languages concept to the workplace?
You know, I'm a psychologist, but mid-career, I was working as a family business coach, working with significantly successful family businesses, helping them deal with business succession planning and wealth transfer planning and dealing with the family issues. I was dealing with a family in North Carolina and asked the dad how the plan was going. He says, "It's going well. My son's stepping up. I think it's going to work." I walked across the hall and asked the son the same question. He said, "This is a disaster. It's never going to work. I can't ever please my dad." And my wife and I were reading the 5 love languages at that time. And I thought, I wonder if this could, be sort of translated into workplace use. And so I pursued Dr. Chapman. It took me a year to get through to him. And then we met, and he has written a lot of books, and he was just finishing up one. He said, I've had about 20 people approach me with that idea. And I was fortunate in that I sort of checked off some boxes in his mind as far as being psychologist dealing, with relational issues, having some business background, And fortunately, we were alumni of the same college. And so I think that got my foot
Yeah.
in the door. So that's where it came from.
So how are the 5 languages of appreciation different from traditional employee recognition programs?
Well, that is a key concept for people to get their head around, because one of the misconception leaders have when they hear about appreciation, they often think about employee recognition. Recognition really is largely organizationally driven, and it's sort of top down, from management or HR. And it's based and focused primarily on performance, on people getting things done and reaching goals, which is a good thing. But for us, we feel like appreciation is more than that it's really about the person, that employees are people. And we have characteristics that are of value beyond just what we do as far as getting tasks done at work, whether that's, a characteristic of being cheerful or dependable, or even outside of work, or commitment to our family. And so we really focus on the person. And the other part is recognition tends to only touch the top 10 or 15% of a team or a group. Whereas appreciation, we teach team members how to show appreciation to everyone, because everyone, we believe, has value. So it really allows us to reach sort of that mid-level group that often are doing good things but don't give much.
And one size does not fit all.
Absolutely.
Now, can you briefly walk us through what the 5 languages of appreciation are? Tell us about each one briefly, if you would.
Sure, they're the same in name as the 5 love languages, but they look different applied in the workplace. Words of affirmation are words that are affirming. We affirm the value of what someone has done or who they are. It's a compliment. It could be spoken. It can be written, text or an email. A key aspect for words to be effective is they need to be specific. We found that just saying good job really doesn't get it done for people that need to hear specifics. Quality time is the second one, and that's actually has some generational differences. We do research and have found that for older employees and leaders, quality time historically has meant time with your supervisor or manager, so focused attention where you get individual time with them to either share thoughts and observations or learn from them. For younger employees, however, quality time is not, I tell leaders, just because you have a team member that has quality time doesn't mean they want time with you.
Right, yes.
That they're really focused more on peer and collegial relationships, so, going out to lunch or after work and so forth. Third language is acts of service, and acts of service is not rescuing a low-performing colleague. It's really those small things that can help make a teammate's day or week go well, especially sort of 2 common contexts. One is if you're working on a time-limited deadline for a project, what's something that somebody can do to help you out, whether that's take part of it or answer your phone and emails for the day so you can stay focused on the project. The other example is like in service industries where you're, the receptionist at a dentist's office and, a whole bunch of people show up at once. What somebody can do to help out manage that process.
Right.
And acts of service people, for them, words don't mean as much. So it's important to get that right. Next language is tangible gifts. And in our concept, it's not bonuses, raises, big vacations. It's just small things actually that show that you're getting to know your colleague and what they like. I mean, whether their favorite cup of coffee, maybe a magazine about their favorite sports team. It doesn't have to cost anything. It could be maybe a website that they're starting to coach their kids' soccer team and a website that has some training programs or activities, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then the last one is physical touch, which is interesting to me that it's becoming more clear that the reaction to it is largely American. As we work in different cultures, physical touch is part of life. But in the U.S., it's largely spontaneous celebration. I mean, it's a high five when you finish a project. It's a fist bump when you solve a problem. It can be a congratulatory handshake. For those that work in cross-cultural settings, or in different cultures. Our Latin friends are more physical. Southern Europeans, they greet with a kiss on the cheek. And so having no physical touch feels very distant and objective to them.
Right. How can managers determine an employee's preferred language of appreciation? Because it varies from person to person.
Absolutely. Now, what we found is that, as part of the project along the way, we developed an online assessment, which we've had over 450,000 people take, and it's in 9 languages. Because if I ask you, how would you like to be shown appreciation? First, it's sort of a weird question in our culture. And secondly, you don't get much. They say, I don't know, tell me thanks, and so you don't get much. And so we found that not only identifying a person's primary language of appreciation is important, but the actions within the language, because even words, for some people, they like to be acknowledged in public. And for others, 40% of the people we've surveyed have found that they don't want to be, recognized in front of a large group. And so you can get the language right, but the action wrong. So we've created this assessment. A code for taking it comes with the book, or we sell codes for groups and can create a profile. And then you get very specific about it. Also, trying to observe doesn't really work. We've learned that often how they show appreciation and how they want to receive appreciation are different. And also, there just aren't that many data points in the workplace that you can sort of observe that.
So what are some of the common mistakes that leaders make when trying to show appreciation?
2 stick out to me. First is that the most common mistake is using your language of appreciation and assuming that's the way everybody else likes to be shown appreciation. And so whether that's words or quality time, you stop by and check in with people, it's an okay starting point, but you're going to miss a lot of people, and I think the other mistake is just that people who tend to be vague and very general and sort of, glad you're on the team kind of thing.
Right,
and that doesn't really get it for people. You really need to be specific about what you value about who they are, what they've done.
Clearly, appreciation can be done wrong. For example, can the wrong language actually backfire?
I don't know that the wrong language can backfire. It won't hit the mark, and you can get frustrated. And I've seen this where supervisors and the employee, this person keeps stopping by and checking in, and this person's least valued language is quality time. They're like, why are they stopping by and wasting my time? So it becomes frustrating. I think the way that it's not used well is when it's not genuine or authentic, that people sort of just go through the motions and they sort of try to act like they appreciate. And fortunately or unfortunately, most people have fairly good sensors about that. And that's when it backfires. In fact, I had one nurse tell me, she said, yeah, my supervisor told me, oh, I'm so glad to learn that your language is quality time. And then the next day they sort of passed in the hall. Nobody else is around. And the supervisor didn't even acknowledge her. So what she said and, what she did didn't match up.
It's interesting to me how leaders, and you've seen this more than I have, just don't read the room. I recall being at a big meeting one time with senior executives and the CEO and the owner of the company, whose last name was Buffett. CEO told people he was really pleased with their performance, and those who got to a certain level, he was going to let them take a ride with him in his new sports car that they couldn't afford.
Right.
He was serious. He thought that was going to be a big deal for them. And everybody, I could hear them talking, and I heard someone say, well, I guess second prize is 2 rides. And so later, the CEO asked me, how'd that go? And I said, you need to read the room. They couldn't care less about the sports car that they can't afford.
Right.
In fact, some of them, it was kind of an affront. This was a very nice, good man, but he just totally misread everything.
Huh.
So how does knowing an employee's preferred appreciation language improve engagement and retention?
Yeah, it speaks to one of the misconceptions leaders often have is what the goal of appreciation is. And it's not, in this case, just to make people feel good. We want that to happen. But really, we have lots of research. We have over 50 research citations in our book the results of when people truly feel valued and appreciated. And some of the most important ones are it improves employee engagement, that people actually become engaged and mentally and emotionally in their work. It reduces simple things like absenteeism, on the job accidents. It improves retention, declines staff turnover, which is a huge issue right now. It also improves customer service ratings, because you're dealing with people who feel valued. And when you feel valued versus questioning it or feeling devalued, you interact with both colleagues and customers and suppliers differently.
Well, today, more than ever, I assume, in many workplaces, we have multiple generations, sometimes 2 or 3 or more generations.
Right.
How do generational differences affect how appreciation is expressed or received? You touched on that a little bit earlier. Expand on it a bit, if you would.
Yeah, it is largely in quality time. That actually, we just did some research looking at generational levels, and that the younger the employee is, all the way down to Gen Z, the more likely they value quality time. It's still at that level, it's just about equivalent with words of affirmation. Words of affirmation in the general workforce is 44% of all people, but it's less than half of the population. So if you only use words, you're going to miss a lot of people. So quality time is higher, but also that the real difference is what that means to them, and it is about peer interaction, not the peer-to-peer appreciation kinds of things that happen just online, where they send a little emoji and that kind of stuff. That's actually viewed somewhat cynically by a lot of people because doesn't take much, doesn't feel very authentic. So quality time is one aspect, and then one of the things that we're finding is that the older generations really do value words more, and tangible gifts less. And tangible gifts is the least chosen language besides physical touch, about 9% of the population. But for, if you think about retirement parties, what do you get? You get a watch or a certificate or whatever. It means not a lot to most people that are retiring. What's more important to them is to hear stories about how they've impacted other people's lives.
Sure.
And that's really quite big. And then I would say with tangible gifts, the other thing is that although it's not just younger employees, about, I would say 40, 45 and down, a key tangible gift is actually comp time off and flexible schedule.
Sure.
It's not a thing, but it's a benefit, right? And so people want to be able to take off early on a Friday, or if they've been working long hours, be able to get a day off. That's really important to them.
Hey there, Leadership listeners. We have something special for you. As a thank you for tuning in, we're offering you a free copy of Roger Dean Duncan's award-winning best-selling book, Change Friendly Leadership. In this book, you'll discover a proven framework for leading change that people will actually buy into, without all the stress and resistance that often stand in the way. You'll also learn powerful strategies to improve relationships both at work and at home, creating a healthier, more productive environment for everyone. To claim your free copy, just head over to changefriendly.com. Don't miss out on this opportunity to transform your good intentions into great performance. Again, grab your free copy of this best-selling book at changefriendly.com.
What role can implementing the 5 languages play in resolving team conflict?
I would say it actually plays a role in preventing team conflict, in that when people don't feel valued, they're what I would call more chippy. They're more easily agitated and upset over stupid little things that really don't matter that much. What size your monitor is, whether you have a window, your parking spot. And those things sort of, when people feel valued, those things sort of melt away because they know that you value them, and that these little things don't matter as much. When you don't feel valued, also there's more territorialism, that you've got to take credit for this kind of thing versus sharing it with the team because you want to be valued, and so it decreases the amount of conflict over really fairly meaningless kinds of side issues.
How can appreciation become a consistent part of a company culture rather than a one-time initiative?
Yeah, it's sort of the one and done kinds of things doesn't work well. It really, what we found is sort of having it part of a strategic plan. And that what's interesting is that often I'm brought in not for the whole organization. Sometimes I am, and that's helpful, but by a division or department. And we start there and do sort of a pilot project with them and have them take the assessment and do training. And then it grows virally across the organization when people see it works, and it creates sort of a positive peer pressure of, well, why did they get to do this and we don't? And so it grows that way. So we start with people that are interested and sort of maybe champions in a bit, or at least open, and develop it there. And that's really where you have impact. I mean, we've gone across large national organizations successfully. I'm pleased with that.
So what do you say to leaders who feel they don't have time to show appreciation? And I'm sure you do run across some of those.
Well, I say, welcome to the life of turnover in your department.
Yeah, right. How's retention working for you here?
Exactly. And what we found, I mean, a lot of this, you just sort of learn through life, is that when people feel valued, everybody has more time because you don't have all those stupid little things that you have to deal with. And so you're able to stay on focus and on mission of the tasks that you need to do. And one of the things we learned early on, we did focus on managers and supervisors, quickly got feedback that people want to know how to show appreciation to their colleagues and be appreciated by their colleagues. So it's not just for supervisors and managers to communicate. We teach all teams and team members how to show appreciation to one another. And so that, lessens the load in amount of time. And a supervisor can't do it all themselves anyway.
I've always told my clients that the second most expensive thing that can happen in your organization is for your best and brightest people to quit and leave.
There you go.
That's very expensive.
Yes.
But the number one most expensive thing is when your best and brightest people quit and stay.
Exactly.
And that does happen.
Yes.
And often I believe it's because they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel valued.
Right.
But they just hang around.
Yep. What was called recently quiet quitting.
Right.
I mean, it's been around for a while. It wasn't a new phenomenon. They just labeled it. So.
Right. So how do you address cynicism from employees who see appreciation efforts as insincere?
I'm a psychologist, so I am a mental health professional, and that kind of, and I think it is of value to affirm sort of their perception, because lots of times it's accurate. I mean, that, people then go through the motions and they don't really care. And I say, I can understand how you might feel that way. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere arguing with them like you shouldn't feel this way.
Right.
So, I mean, affirm it and say, I get it. But if you'll watch, and I ask people that, I don't encourage leaders to just mandate implementation for everybody of our concepts, because that undermines the perceived authenticity, right?
Sure.
I say, if you're not interested, just don't become obstructive, but just stand to the side and watch.
Right.
And often we win those people over, that they see that it is about, and we deal with authenticity in our training, and we win them over time. So I think affirm it, but then say, give us a chance. I think you'll see that this is different.
Sure. Sometimes the initial resistors can become the most effective champions.
True.
So how can remote or hybrid teams effectively apply the languages of appreciation?
Yeah, it's interesting that even prior to COVID, we started working and investigating remote work relationships, and how do you show appreciation when you're in a different, not only office, but city, state, or country. And so we developed, in our assessments, we developed different versions for different industries, because in active service in a professional trade looks different than in the medical setting and so forth. But also with remote employees, how do you do an active service across distance or quality time? And so we've specified that. So, and to be honest, one of the things in the research we found that to effectively show appreciation to remote employees, first of all, you have to be proactive because you don't have those chance encounters in the break room or in the elevator or coming in or whatever. Secondly, it's most effective to enhance or support peer interaction. I mean, you expect your supervisor to check in, if you're working remotely, but to keep team members. And so developing my team, we have remote team members, and we'll have an occasional meeting where we're just checking in with each other. It's not about work. It's just what's going on in your life. And that's the third part, that it's personal. In remote settings, you don't have those chat kinds of things to find out how the soccer game went this weekend, or you talk about your favorite sports team or whatever.
Right.
So really engaging that. And we've also created a resource for remote training as well.
And what I hear you saying is it's really not that complicated. You just have to do it. You have to be committed to it and do it.
Yeah, it's not that complicated, but also it does take intentionality.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to do a little work or have the resources so that you're not just, doing stuff that doesn't matter to people. You want to find out what's important to them.
Sure. Well, how can HR teams introduce the 5 languages framework without it feeling like just another flavor of the month program?
The successful way that I've seen teams do it is that they, first of all, they explore our resources, the book and the assessment, and then and maybe talk about it together. And then they get maybe some permission from, the management to run a pilot with a group, because that way, first of all, part of the things that's cool is the concepts are pretty transferable across cultures and industries and all that, but the actions do differ. An active service for a professional trade might be to stop by at the end of the day, help clean up the job site, right? Whereas,
sure.
So we want to find out and make it relevant and use that pilot group, and then it grows from there. And so it's rare. It happens. PepsiCo Global has taken this on, from top down, but it's pretty rare to start all the way at the top initially. So there's a lot of, inertia and resistance you have to overcome. And so, get a success story and then go from there.
Yeah. What has surprised you most in your work with organizations around this topic?
What surprised me is that I'll be called sexist here, but sort of the historical tough guy industries really value this. Whether that's law enforcement, the military, construction, professional trades. And so we had the New York Times wrote an article about us with a mining company, and they had, concrete drivers and that kind of stuff. And they just totally embraced this, partly because of the authenticity that we emphasize. And so we have visual symbols of each of the languages. And so they had stickers made of the different symbols and put them on their helmets so that they would know each other, and just sort of a little fun by that. So it's been fun that we really haven't found an industry or a type of setting that this doesn't work or apply.
So the stickers on their helmets indicated their primary language. Well,
yeah,
that's interesting. I was thinking about maybe T-shirt.
Well, we've had a group do that too. Yeah.
So back again, what's your response to people who think appreciation is soft or not critical to business success? I'm sure you get that a lot. What's your initial response to that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've had leaders say, we pay them. That's our appreciation. And I say, well,
right.
Good for you. Have a nice day. Because I'm not going to try to, win somebody over that, the proof is in the pudding as far as turnover and all that.
Right.
But, I say, I understand that this may not fit your personality style or even your values. But the reality is, and it's playing itself out with younger and younger employees, the relational aspect is key. We have a big problem with sense of loneliness on workers, a sense of disconnectedness, partly because of the remote hybrid thing, but not only that. And that the research shows if you want to keep your team, and even if that's for 3 years, I mean, we may have to redefine what, how long you keep people is, but you need to deal with them as a person. You don't have to change your personality. It doesn't have to be all touchy-feely. It's just, acknowledging the worth of your team members and what they contribute.
Sure. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to managers who want to start appreciating their teams better today? What's your first piece of advice?
I say start somewhere with someone. And typically the easiest groups to pick from are think of somebody that you work with on a close basis that if they didn't do what they did, your daily life would be a lot more difficult. Or secondly, if you have a key team member you don't want to lose, you better be thinking about how to show appreciation, because research shows that about 80% of people who leave a job cite a lack of appreciation as a key factor in their decision. And then third, if you have somebody that's discouraged, I view appreciation as sort of focusing on the past, what they've demonstrated. Encouragement is about the present and the future. And some people, they're working on a project, they're just running into obstacles and they just have to keep at it. You want to come alongside and encourage them, and otherwise, they can leave as well. So just find somebody, and we teach them all. Use their name. We like to hear your name. If you're writing it, make sure you spell it right.
Yes.
Yeah, and be specific to what they do or characteristics they display that you value, and then why it's important, either to you, to the organization, or to your clients. And because people don't always make that connection, and be specific about it, and it'll land well.
That makes a world of sense. Dr. Paul White, thank you for sharing your insights on the 5 languages of appreciation at work. You've done a masterful job of explaining how the 5 languages of appreciation can enhance employee engagement and retention. You've helped us understand the manager's role in helping workers feel genuinely valued and appreciated. You've explained how generational differences affect how appreciation is expressed and received. You've described how the 5 languages can help resolve team conflict, and you've provided dozens of ideas that our listeners can use immediately. So, how's that for words of affirmation?
Hey, I appreciate that. And let me just mention, Roger, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to offer to your listeners the opportunity. If they email me at DrPaul, DrPaul @gmail.com. I'll send them a sample report of our inventory and also a group profile so they can see what that looks like, as well as like the New York Times article, and give them an introduction that way.
Excellent. Thank you.
You bet.
To learn more about Paul and his work, go to appreciationatwork.com. That's appreciationatwork.com. And to grab a free copy of my book, Change Friendly Leadership, go to changefriendly.com. That's changefriendly.com. In other episodes of Leadership, I share my exclusive conversations with thought leaders who offer smart tips to boost your effectiveness in both your professional and personal life. My guests include superstars like Stephen M.R. Covey, Liz Wiseman, Doug Conant, Heather Younger, Marshall Goldsmith, Amy Edmondson, Bill George, Jessica Chin, Guy Kawasaki, Dana Perino, David Ulrich, and many others who have insightful things to say that you can put to good use immediately. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can stay informed on what's coming your way. Believe me, folks, you don't want to miss any of our episodes. We appreciate those 5-star reviews. And if you leave a comment, it keeps those algorithms promoting our podcast across the world. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, stay safe, be happy, and spread good cheer and appreciation wherever you go. For Leadership, I'm Roger Dean Duncan.